Hey guys, welcome to a With Friends episode of Unjuggle the Struggle. Today we have a very special guest, Stefani Pady. This woman is the founder and the coach behind Women, Worship, and Work and GLS Coaching and Consulting. So I'm going to have her share more about her own story. But before I do, Steph, I just want to say thank you for being here. I know this has been a year, I think, in the making, right? And I am so inspired by you. The way that you speak God back into the hearts of women, the way you've spoken God back into my heart, even for the ways that you rise, like as a mother, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, you're amazing. And I'm just so grateful and blessed. Like you're such a light. So thank you for being here today.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. When you were saying that, I cannot believe that somebody is telling me the way I speak God into their world. That is just something I never, ever would have envisioned in my life growing up, and really up until, call it less than 10 years ago. So it is really, really weird to hear somebody say that to me. So thank you. I am so thrilled to be here.
You're so welcome. Okay, so who are we talking to today? Tell us a little bit about yourself, wherever you want to start in your story.
All right. Well, I will go on 1,000 rabbit holes, but I'll try to go on 999 of them. Stereotypical, like went to college, graduated, went into the corporate world, and figured I would be in corporate forever. Accidentally found myself in sales, which was like the Antichrist. I mean, I thought salespeople were so slimy and awful, but turns out if you're good at it, you can make a lot of money and you can make a lot of impact with people and teams. So I was in sales and sales leadership for almost 2 decades in corporate America and thought I would do that forever. And in 2019, I read the Bible for the first time. It literally changed my entire life, my entire perspective on my identity and the relationships that were in my life. And I left corporate America and started my own business. I have a business, like you already said, GLS Coaching and Consulting. And I have another organization called Women, Worship, and Work. So the bulk of my time with GLS, which stands for Growth, Leadership, and Sales, is working with professional organizations on the individual development, the individual growth of their leaders or sales professionals, because I know that when we invest in our own growth, we lead better and we sell more. And I really do that more from the lens of a team's level. I do one-on-one coaching, but it's typically within the aspect of working for an organization and going through leader and sales training and tactics. So that's the bulk. And I'm not really talking about Jesus there or faith. Yeah. I mean, it's still, a big aspect of my life is that corporate business working professional. However, when I read God's word in 2019 for the first time, and so much was exposed to me, primarily who I am in the identity of Christ, I just made a promise. I don't even think I was asked to make a promise. I just made a promise because I know how much it changed my life, that I wanted to bring biblical truth into the lives of women. And so that's what we do at Women, Worship, and Work. The tagline is where biblical truth meets real life. And I'm in seminary. I mean, guys, if you knew my background and where I grew up and all the things, how I grew up, the fact that I'm in seminary is mind blowing. The fact that my family is going to go to Denver May 15th. So I will get to hug you again in Denver and watch, their daughter, their mom, their aunt Steph, graduate seminary. I am telling you, it is mind blowing for almost anybody who has known me longer than 6 years, but life is full. It is exciting and it's full.
So since it's so like, I cannot help but ask, like, okay, so two things. So two questions here. Because first off, when I met you, I did not know what seminary was. So in case anybody else is on that train, okay, can you just let like folks like what is seminary? And then also to like what, and you don't have to get into the nitty gritty necessarily, but I just think about how often so many of us feel like unworthy, undeserving. Why? Like why not you? Why did you really think not you?
Yeah. Okay. That's a great question. I haven't been asked that before. Well, I didn't know what seminary was either. And the program I signed up for, I did not know what I was signing up for. Okay. So we are good. We are good friends here. It is safe. But seminary I'm in a grad school program, but to get a degree in biblical education. So
Wow.
most pastors will go to seminary. I'm not getting a D-men. I'm going to mess this up. Somebody's going to correct and, don't cut this out, but don't put this part on social. Okay. But anyways, I'm not taking enough language to truly have what you typically would have to go, what most pastors have that are preaching from the pulpit. I'm not taking Hebrew and Greek. I plan to, but I'm in a program called, Women in Leadership. And so I will have a master's in biblical studies, but basically seminary is higher education learning though about the word of God, right? It's theological and biblical studies. And don't ask me what the difference of theology and biblical studies are. I'm still like in the messy middle. So here's the thing about me. I thought I was signing up for a women in leadership cohort, like women in corporate leadership that love Jesus. Like that's what I thought I was signing up for. And
that is not what you signed up for.
No, not what I signed up for. And it turns out when there's this whole like women in leadership controversy there are some people that are like dying right now. Okay. Out of laughter and praying for my soul. But it turns out like there's a lot of controversy on the roles that women can hold in the church. I had no idea about. That is a very, very real thing. And I was signing up for a program for women in church leadership. Now, this is what's so great. And I see this over and over and over again in the work that I do within both of my organizations. The struggles are the same. The struggles in a nonprofit are very similar to the struggles in a corporate organization. I mean, I remember when I got I have a big background in technology sales, SaaS sales, if anybody's familiar in that world, people sales. I know that's a lot of your background, succession planning and all of that, HR. I mean, I have a client that is a manufacturing organization that are building like literally like it's rocket science, okay, for the government. And if they're listening, they know who they are. Leadership is leadership. Challenges are challenges. The Bible is a book of stories about people and sin and mistakes they make and relationships and how God is with you the whole way through. So it has been a really, really beautiful journey of unlearning things that I didn't know I had learned and learning things that I didn't know that I needed to know. And like what seminary is. So you asked me another question and I don't remember what it was. The why? Why didn't I think I was worthy?
What? Yeah. Like why? Like what, just for anyone who's like, hey, because we all to some degree all feel that, but it's so interesting, right? You're like, to think that I am going to be walking across that stage with like a biblical studies. This is wild.
Wild. You might watch me. I might have you go because it's.
I put the date down, girl. I wrote it down. Try to stop me. Okay, that's like try to stop me.
I would never. Okay, so here, I'm gonna tell this story with a little bit more color because what your listeners may not know is that you and I have done a lot of work together. You have come into my community. I'm so honored to be a part of yours. And I know that you do a lot of work around like, what did you love when you were young? What were you great at when you were young? Like, let's go back to that, woo woo inner child, because he and she is so important. So when I was in at intermediate school, middle school, I think it was 6th grade, I took a test, the whole what color is your parachute? And listen, I wasn't raised in a church. My parents didn't go to church. It just wasn't our thing. And I take this test, and the two things that come back, my top 2 jobs that it says I would be great at, is teacher and preacher in 6th grade. I know, this is real. And I was like, preacher? What? I didn't even remember this until I'm like a year into seminary, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
Wow.
So I've always loved communicating. I've always been, though imperfect, somebody who would communicate and ask the hard questions and delve into the confrontation and have the dialogue. But I have a very colorful childhood. I mean, my parents separated when I was 11, and it opened up a lot of opportunities for me to have less parenting around and to get into trouble and to do things and see things that are absolutely not what God would desire for a life, but it's all in the Bible. It's all represented. And, I did all the things, that you could think of that you don't want your teenagers to do. I did. And somehow God brought me through that. And I ended up in a really great college. And, my adult life up to this point, you wouldn't look back and think that I came from some of the decisions that I had made when I was young. But it's just a really great testimony that God can work through anybody and with anybody. And I'll just say one more thing. One of the things that we talk a lot about in women worship and work behind the scenes is, like if somebody presents me like artwork or something that with a Bible verse that has a lot of flowers and looks really sweet, I will often say that's too Christian-y. And I know.
Oh, yes.
And it's because the Bible is raw. Who Jesus was trying to reach is very raw. And I never want to forget the young woman, me, who, when I made it to church, I can't even tell you how hungover I was. I can't tell you the amount of language that is poured out of my mouth inappropriately. The things I still get wrong. God works through really hard and really raw and really deep pain and trauma. And it's not always flowers and roses. And so I guess I shouldn't have questioned myself knowing what I know now, but I didn't know.
Yeah. Didn't know. No. And I love that too. I know. So for me, confession, like have not read the Bible cover to cover. And I can tell that I know you're like salivating. You're like, oh, Brittney, I know. Like I can tell that I'm almost ready to take on that challenge. That education, that wonderment, that so many things. But oh dang, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, but the more the more time I spend in the Bible, there's so much struggle. It's so much pain. And it couldn't be further removed from the rainbows and unicorns and flowers. And so even just to hear you say that with some of the stuff that, I've been reading lately, it just, thank you again. Just, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, season, right? Like when we actually start getting into the word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another question that came up, and this is actually one that I have been asked multiple times. So I'm curious, as someone who you definitely are the person to ask this question. I'm curious how you would answer it. How do you, so you obviously have this strong faith that's very apparent. I mean, you're going through seminary and you're one of the businesses that you have is you're in these corporate environments. And so the question that has been proposed to me that I am now proposing to you is like, how do you allow and weave and bring your faith into this space, into a corporate space where that's normally not, it's not that it's not, no, sometimes it is not acceptable. And I'm just curious, like, what's your opinion or how you navigate that while still staying true to yourself? Because that seems to be the theme when others are asking me that question. It's that they feel like they're not being true to themselves, like they're living two different lives almost.
Well, in one way, I think it's so much easier than we make it out to be. And in other ways, I feel like a living hypocrite. So I'll tell you both. Okay?
Oh,
So I'll start with how it's so much easier. I mean, we don't, what is that saying that says, tell the gospel and only when necessary, share the gospel and only when necessary, use words? You know,
no. Okay.
okay, the way that we show up to people, the way that we listen more than we talk, the way that we invite somebody to sit at our table, the way that we demonstrate and give perspective in a non-judgmental and authentic way, those are all styles and aspects that you will see of Jesus in the Bible. One of the things, I know there's a lot of different personality tests that you can take out there. I've taken them all. I mean, I remember my Cosmo test when I was like 16. Okay, I've taken them all, and every time I read them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how did you know? Were you there when I was conceived? You know. However, one the personality assessment and I guess protocol that literally has changed my life is DISC, and it's very.
Oh,
Have you heard of DISC?
John C. Maxwell, right?
Well, he has a version of it, but it actually is standalone, and
Okay.
it there many corporations have heard of it, and the reason DISC was so impactful to me is because I've got that loud, bold, boisterous style that my whole life I've been given feedback. Watch your approach, Steph. Watch your approach, like foot in mouth all the time. And
yeah.
what DISC did for me was it reframed. It's less about knowing who I am. That's important. But it's really learning how to learn what the other style is and how to show up to them in a way that they can receive. And
Yeah.
you see Jesus do that over and over again in the way that he responds. He invites Peter, my kindred spirit, right? The bold, will do anything, like cut the ear off, foot and mouth person. He invites Peter to come to him in the water. Come take adventure. Come take a risk. Go. Come to me. And Peter does. When Thomas needs proof, when he needs details, he shows him the proof in his hands. So I think one of the things that makes it really simple and really easy to be 100% true to who you are, whether Jesus or Christianity is brought up, is just to be continually transformed to that's how you show up. That's who you are every day. So from that aspect, it becomes very easy. And I have had countless men and women reach out to me questioning, I feel like you're a person of faith. Can I ask you some questions without me ever using the words? Now, where I feel like I still struggle is, completely owning that on LinkedIn and certain areas. I'm definitely careful where I pick and choose when I use a Bible verse, when I say I'll pray for you. when I do some of those things, even boldly talking about it on podcast, it used to be, this is only for women worship and work. And now I'm much more integrating it into, you can find it, anywhere you can, I'll post it, I'll share it in other areas. So I'm still a work in progress on that. And I'm still wrestling and trying to figure it out. But one thing that I feel like I try to do my very best at is, it really doesn't matter what setting you see me in. It could be church, it could be a boardroom, it could be a Zoom call with 12 women on a Bible study. You're probably going to get relatively the same person that you're talking to. And I think that's where it becomes pretty simple.
100%. I agree. It's in the ways that we show up. And language does matter. For instance, it's the very small difference, but if the intention is in the right place, it's a very small difference of being like, you know what, coworker, Jesus loves you, to, hey, coworker, like, I know you're going through something, you are loved. And just like, and right, like it's same thing can land, like, and it's for them to receive, but you showed up in a way that was authentic to you. And I think that as long as you're doing that, that's one of those, your fruits are going to speak a heck of a lot louder than anything that's going to come out of your mouth. And I think that sometimes what I've experienced is, like, folks feel like because they didn't say, well, Jesus loves you, word for word, they feel like this internal battle, like, oh, well, I didn't speak up for Jesus today. And that's what I've kind of seen.
Well, and this could be very, very controversial, but one of the things that has been so beautiful in my learning in seminary is how much theologians wrestle, and how much, I just always thought what was taught from the pulpit had to be right. And it turns out that what is taught from the pulpit is taught by a human. And so there is no one on this side of heaven that knows absolutely 100% every aspect of the doctrine that we believe and the domination that we believe, and which one is right. So yeah. I think it's really important that we keep an open hand to allow people to wrestle and to meet them where they're at. Our job is not to save. That's not our job. That's Jesus's job. Our job is to speak truth in kindness and to show up. And that person that you say you are loved to go back and get on your hands and knees and pray for them. That's our job. That's our job.
Yeah. Yes. So good. So then with your two businesses, so you've got so you've got GLS, you've got Women Worship and Work. Like, how do you as like, do you keep them separate in behind the scenes? Do you, like, how do you manage that?
Are you asking what struggle I've had to unjuggle?
I am asking you, what struggle are you unjuggling?
Yes, and yes. So, I mean, honestly, it has been the challenge since the day that I started, because I'm a visionary. I'm a forward thinker. Like, I have a harder time staying right here and present. I'm always thinking about what's coming next.
Yeah.
So from the very beginning, I knew that I believed they needed to be separate, and I knew at some point I might be in a situation where there would be this, like, Stefani version, right? Because, if you take somebody like that is a prominent speaker, or, doing something like that, like, usually they have a business, but you can Google their name, right? They've got their own website. And so I've really wrestled.
Personal brand.
Yeah. Personal brand, business brand, nonprofit. And number one, I have not cracked the code on this. Number two, what I know is there's a lot of people that are multi-passionate. So I know that it's possible to be multi-passionate and have different, businesses, organizations, things that you're a part of. So I know that is possible. Excuse me. And I know that I'm sitting in that messy middle of it. So I'll tell you just kind of a little bit of my journey. At first, I was a one woman show. And so it was like, yes, they were separate, but I was still the one doing everything. And when I brought on my first team member or two, they were a little bit more duplicated like me, like half of their time here, half of their time there. But as my team has grown, for a while, it has been a little bit siloed. It has been, you are more focusing on the faith and women worship and work side, and you are more focused on the growth, leadership, and sales side. And that's probably how we've been operating for at least the last year, if not the last year and a half. And I have recently come to the decision that we have to unjuggle that. And we have to become more united because, like I've already talked about, there is so much overlap. And so you got to find that balance. It's like having a conversation with a couple of people. I might show up to you a little bit different than I would show up to somebody else in order to meet you where you're at, your personality, how we jive. But like 75% is the same. And then I make tweaks to meet you where you're at, or vice versa, or with my clients. And so I think that's what we're in the process of doing right now. We're in the process of really looking at what are the core pillars in women worship and work that match the same core pillars in growth, leadership, and sales. And how do we get, 70 to 80% of that to be relatively the same? And then where do we need to diversify where we need it to be? And I'll just give you a couple of examples. I have a lot of women that come to women worship and work because I was working with the business that they worked for. So I'm doing facilitation, coaching, leadership programs for a corporation. But they do, a little bit of Google search, find out that I have women worship and work, and we read the Bible together every year, Brittney. And,
I hear you.
And they want a piece of that. So they come over to women worship and work. And then I have opportunities that are beginning to come that they're faith-based, but men and women will be in the room. So for me right now in my businesses has primarily been women worship and work has been faith, and anything co-ed has been GLS. And now there's been more opportunities. I mean, I just recently taught sales overcoming objections to 80 leaders, men and women, through the lens of Jesus. What did Jesus do? So, I'm trying to figure out how to do that and bring it together more appropriately.
Yep.
So I'm in that journey.
In a way that still feels good to you, that is still sustainable to both of your businesses, in a way that honors where you're at and the evolution that's happened in your businesses over the last several years. And I love that as a beautiful example of the evolution of business, of the evolution of entrepreneurship, that it can, you can want it to look this way, but it ends up kind of being this way. But then if there's still like that pull to do something different, that you can still pivot at any time. You can still, now, if anything, you just have more tools at your disposal to make it look like the canvas that you want it to look like.
Yeah. One of the best pieces of advice that I was given very, very early on, well, two aspects that could be really great for your listeners. The first one was and they were given this advice. Okay. But it was, you don't need a brand. You don't need, colors, all these things. You need a client.
Yes.
That was number one. That was
That's
really
what
hard.
I say all the time. I'm like, everybody comes to me and they're like, well, I've already been working on my website for 2 weeks. And you're like, why? You have a hobby until the day you have someone who pays you. You have a hobby.
Yes. So that was really great. Now, I care a lot about the brand. Don't get me wrong. And my team, when they're going to be listening to this, they're going to be like, Stefani, you spent so many hours on the brand. By the way, merging the two, like that's what keeps me up at night. What colors am I going to do? Better.
You know better.
I know. But it brings me joy sometimes.
Good.
The second one, oh gosh, hold on. I just lost it in the middle of that laugh. Get a client and it will come to me in just a second.
It's probably something about the message, or like, what are you actually, like, how are you serving them? Like, how are you delivering? Like, what are you doing to help somebody else? Like, you're solving a problem.
Good. You brought it to me. The other one was however you start, whatever you're doing for that one client. This was two different people, but whatever you're doing for that one client, however you start, it will be totally different in 5 years.
It'll be totally different in 6 months, even. Like,
yeah, if you do it right. Because I mean, most likely that first client you got, you are going to drown if you keep working at the rate that they're paying you, and you are, John Maxwell always says you're never good the first time. And so you're using that to hone in on, what do I love about this? What was great? What sucked the life out of me? So just because I stumbled a little bit, get a client, like get someone who will pay you. And then, keep an open hand, because whatever you're doing when you first get started, it will look different over time. And that's okay. And that's really smart. I mean, I was on an internal call yesterday with one of my team members, and we literally were like, how did people function without AI? And I was a late adopter. I only started using AI like less than 12 months ago. And now I don't know how I survived without it.
See,
we gotta adapt, we gotta change, and we've got to make that normal.
No, for sure. We do have to adapt. So over the last couple of years then, with running these two businesses, successfully, might I add, running these two businesses successfully, building out teams. I mean, you are a powerhouse. Personally in your life, what would be something that you have unjuggled then that has probably fueled that success, or that at least has set you up to be able to manage everything that you've got going on?
Well, first of all, I want to take a step back, and you use the word powerhouse. Okay.
Yeah.
And I want to wrestle with that for just a second.
Ooh, let's do it.
When I hear the word powerhouse, I think about all the big names, all the big money, all the big things that I have yet to achieve. Number one. So I want to level set that. And at the same time, I want to own it. I want to own it for your listeners that are in this getting started, wanting to take their hobby to a side hustle, to a full-time gig. Like, the powerhouse aspect is in being bold enough to do that, is in being willing to step into that.
I love that.
Where I found myself completely burnt out, fried, so desperate that I'm reading the Bible cover to cover, it was when I was trying to do all the things. I was, in corporate America, traveling, 2 young kids, which goes into, work-life balance, breastfeeding, getting dinner on the table, traveling, navigating, relationships, which are hard. And I just could not figure out how to do it without drowning. And I was 1 year into running my own business, and I knew being a business owner would be hard. I knew it would be hard, but I really thought having my own control, I would at least get that balance back into my life again. And what I realized 1 year after running my own business is I literally had the exact same problems when I was in corporate America, but I had no one else to blame but myself. I was at the top. And what I realized is what a lot of people say, right, over and over and over, like, if you keep doing things the same way you've always done it, you're going to get the same results. And so I picked up the phone one day and I called a friend, And I was griping about all these things and all the situations that, needed to take place, thinking the issue had to do with time management or all these other things with my business. And she said to me, Steph, you don't need, that's not your challenge. Your challenge is you need a nanny. And I was like, what? And this is why it's so important to have wisdom, wise counselors around us and men and women that have gone before us. She said, you need a nanny. And so just so you know, my kid's school is like 0.1 miles away from my house. So, I mean, I have my own business. Why in the world can I not and should I not go pick them up at 3:15 when it is literally that close? But what was happening, and this was very early on, I can't, if I have to get them at 3:15, I really can't have a call by the way things all work out from 3 to 4:30. And then it's almost time for dinner. And so I was literally losing 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
And so my whole point to this, all these details that you probably don't need, but I hope this is speaking to somebody, is that I had to become okay with my kids need to get picked up from school, but I don't necessarily have to be the one that does it. Dinner needs to get on the table, but I don't have to be the one that does it. My laundry needs to be folded and washed, but I don't have to be the one that does it. And there's a lot of different answers to that. As my kids get older, they can do their own laundry. I can pay for help. I can have someone pick them up. I literally don't even do my own meal plans. I don't do my own grocery shopping. I don't create my own meal plans. What we're going to have for dinner. I wash clothes. I rarely fold them. They get picked up. I don't pick up my kids from school. And anybody can listen to and by the way, I'm not Oprah. Okay. I am your normal middle-class American woman living on a cul-de-sac. Okay. Like I just have gotten really clear on the highest and best use of my time and my strengths. And it's not in the planning. It's the sitting down and having the dinner with my family. It's being able to eat with them. Now, Wednesdays, we have no activities and we always pick a meal that I do cook. And sometimes my kids help. This past Wednesday was October 1st as we're recording this. And we have this tradition of making colored pancakes. And so we had breakfast for dinner and we did it together. So it's not that I don't do any of these things. It's that I'm very careful when I choose it. So here is how I would tie the bow on it. I just really want to free up for your community that there are different ways to solve problems. And we don't have to do it like everybody else. And this is not because I'm a genius. This is because I have people modeling for me in my environment and in my village of people that demonstrate there's a different way to do it.
That's so key. That is so key, because if we're constantly only exposed to one way and we're not willing to see that there are other options, we're not willing to get creative for other solutions that fit our lives better, the seasons that we're in, because what works today may not work next month, and needs to be able to change. But you're right. I think it's what we expose ourselves to, and it's what we are at least willing to hear that other people are doing too.
Yeah. Which is why I'm so glad that you're doing what you do, because you show up so authentically. You took a really bold risk. I know you didn't have all the answers, and I know that you wrestle with not having all the answers, and yet you still make it safe to open up and share in the middle of building. I mean, you do things that I'm 5 years in and I still don't have a podcast because I still need it to be perfect, and it won't be even when I do it. So you take bold action, And
Thank
you
you.
are one of those people in my life too that makes it safe to take bold action imperfectly.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for seeing me.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that means the world to me. Oh, so good. So, let's say I want on this topic, okay, like letting go of, so it's a asking for help thing, right? Like if you're not going to be the one who's cooking dinner, is that an asking for help thing? Is like, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
not that I have a question necessarily. It's more just like I'm processing. Um, how do you get to that point where you can release these, it's an expectation. There's an expectation that you're okay with. I have just talked around in circles. I am
No,
so
no, no.
sorry for
No, I understand what you're saying.
that.
And you've done that probably because I talked around in circles, but here's a couple of things. Yes, we need to normalize asking for help. We really need to normalize asking for help. And I know that that is not rocket science, and your listeners have heard that before. But I also think the strategy part is deciding where we want to ask for help. And one of the things that I talk a lot about is leaders and people, we don't take enough time just to think. And I know that I mean, you have come into my community and helped the women in our membership group at Suited, like really real time, take time to think. But it's, sometimes we need to slow down enough and really envision what is the best version of ourselves. What is she doing? What is she wearing? You know, how is she smiling? How long is her hair? Like,
Yep.
what's her
Yep.
temperament? Like, envision that person and then think about, 1 year, 3 year, 5 years from now, where do we want to be? How do we want that future version of ourselves showing up? And just to kind of tie it back to that wrestling between GLS and women worship and work.
Yeah.
I sat down with my small team. I had 2 people sitting at that table. Neither one of them were actual employees at the time. They were still contractors. And we sat down and we wrote out goals 1 year, 3 year, and 5 years from now. And I'm at about the 4-year mark. But what I had written down was I really wanted GLS to be able to function without me. Like if I got hit by a car, that wouldn't be the complete end of it, right?
Yeah.
And that was really my 5-year goal. And so what I knew was in order to reach that, I would have to grow a team. I would have to bring on more people that
Mm-hmm.
can do, if not everything I can do, aspects of what I can do, and diversify that. And so what that meant was if I'm going to hire more people, then I need to be really clear on what my revenue goal is. So what that means is I need to be very clear on how confidently I'm asking for the opportunity and the investment that I'm asking one of my clients to make, because it's a bigger goal that I'm
Yep.
trying to reach. It's not just within that one conversation. And so when it comes down to asking for help, yes, that's really important. But there's a step even before that that's really getting clear on where do you need help? What does that look like? So when I thought in my life, after a couple of years in this business, I realized like January is a super busy time for me. I am traveling because a lot of
Mm.
organizations do leadership meetings and
Yeah.
connections. And I very quickly had to realize, okay, if the best version of myself and the best version of my family unit is one that my kids aren't carrying my stress, then I have to figure out a way as a single mom that I can travel and I can go serve my clients with the smallest amount of disruption in my kid's life as possible. And
Yeah.
so I remember one day I was like, I have GLS, I have women worship and work. I'm in seminary. I think you want me to do all these things. I feel like I listened to you when you laid these calls on my heart. If you really want me to do this, I need you to show me how, or I have to take one off my plate. And I know it doesn't always happen like this, Brittney, but in this instance, he met me immediately and told me so clearly what I needed to do, who I needed to hire, and what it was going to look like. So ask for help, ask God for help, ask Him to give you clarity, and be strategic on where you want to ask for help. And guess what? Go bold, go big. If there's something that you hate doing, there is a good chance that somebody else can do it better than you.
Oh, so good. Being strategic and asking for help, like goal setting, because then it's going to align your efforts, align your decision making, align your life, like really point you in the right direction of where is it that you need? What do you need? How are you going to do it? You going to do it? Is somebody else going to do it for you? All of it. So beautiful. All right, my friend, we are heading into the last little part of this podcast. I'm very excited. What I always do though is, so I want you to talk about, you've talked about women worship and work. You've talked about GLS, you talked about kicking off reading the Bible at the first of the year and suited. So if folks want to be in your world, like where can they go?
Yeah. Okay. So my two websites are glscoach.com. So it's like growth leadership sales coach.com, and then womenworshipandwork.com. And so you can find the handles on Instagram and all that kind of good stuff. I'm also Stefani Pady on LinkedIn. That's number one. Number two, for the ladies. So every year, January 1st, we read the Bible together for free. So you can go to Women Worship and Work. There is a spot on up at the top that will say read the word. And on January 1st, we will start with the Old Testament, and we have an app and we follow a plan and we read in community together. Now, that's really amazing and that's really awesome. But what has been so cool and a differentiator about being in seminary is I have the blessing of being connected to so many theologians that are willing to come and teach us. So, next year when we're reading through Judges and some of the really hard, awful things that happen to women, I'm going to bring a woman theologian and they're going to peel it back for us. So not only do I really want to invite you to read, like Brittney, I want you to read with us next year, and God will do amazing things with you just getting your own eyes on scripture and reading in community. And specifically, I'm proud to say this community, I think that you're going to get a lens that you might not get in church. And if you're not in seminary, you probably wouldn't get it either. So we do that every year. I'd love for you to join us. You can find it on the website. And then we have, I have a membership group. It is called Suited. And it is based off of the Bible verse, Genesis 2:18, a helper suitable. And it is women of all ages and all stages, working from home, not working in the home. Everybody's working, but working in the home, working outside of the home, grandparents, younger generations. And we come together imperfectly and bring biblical truth to real life. And that is a place where I bring sales, growth, leadership, seminary, all the things together. But even though I'm really proud of the teachings, the magic is in the community. It is dialogue like this over and over and over again. So that's where you can find me. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share that.
Absolutely. I absolutely invite anyone into the Suited community. I've been able to be a guest twice now, and you get into this room with this community, and these are real women doing real work to live biblically aligned lives. And it's Steph, it's incredible. Like what you're building, it's incredible. It's so special. So I know that a couple different times, even this year, I think that you kind of offered folks to just like try it out. So if someone maybe even wants to just like, hey, could I try out Can you talk about how they would be able to just come see?
Yes. So a couple of things. So number one, just go to my website. My email's on there, and reach out. Just ping me on Instagram, whatever, reach out. We actually have a community development coordinator, and she will answer any questions. She'll talk to you. You can connect with her one-on-one. And based on that dialogue, if there is any aspect or an opportunity that we can invite you to our next, call or session, we absolutely will. So yes, come, we want this to be the right fit. Brittney, when we started this, I didn't know how to navigate it. I'm a part of a few membership groups that they wouldn't even know I'm a part of because I'm able to hide. And so I kind of wanted to make this a safe space to hide if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. Turns out that's not what the people wanted.
No.
We are sleeves rolled up, life in imperfection. And so I want to make sure it's a good fit for you. But I do want to share, you are one of the only speakers that I've had come and speak, and I literally was not even on the call. And you can look at that in one way as how rude to not be on the call, but it's because I trusted you and I trust you so much. So I know we're who can give each other the best compliments, but
almost. They're
right back at you. I mean, the only thing I don't like about you is that you came up with the best podcast name known to mankind, Unjuggle the Struggle. And if anything, ever happens where you decide you don't want it anymore, I want it. I want your name.
You want it. You want it. You got it. It's trademarked and everything, but if I never. Steph. All right. So to bring this thing home, I always ask, there's 3 more questions. Okay. So the first one is, I often talk about in a lot of my content and my courses and my keynotes, this concept of quitting things that are no longer serving us. So when I say this, quitting things that are no longer serving you, what comes to mind?
Okay. I've been in a lot of therapy the last couple of years. And one of the things that my therapist has used as a great analogy is she'll pretend she's holding a ball like a basketball. And she'll say, Steph, that ball's not your ball. Give it back to the person who owns it. So I think I've been focusing really well on not carrying other people's stuff that is theirs to carry.
Quit carrying other people's stuff that is not meant for you. It is meant for them. That's good. That's so good. Okay. Beautiful. The second question I have for you is, I actually have the podcast guests before you leave you a question. So they may not know, sometimes I know who's coming, who's not. So this was coming from Shay Spitz of the Real Moms podcast. Okay.
I love
she wants to know, what is one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Okay. The piece of advice that I would give my younger self is that I would remind her that she is so fully loved. And even if other people don't have the capability or capacity to take care of her or protect her as she needs to be protected, she can take care of the person that has her name. And the best way to do that is in partnership with God.
So good. So good. Thank you. And then you, my friend, you must leave a question for the next guest. So I have a couple different ideas of who it may be, but have not locked it down exactly. So you don't know who's coming on next. What is one question? It could be anything. Anything.
Now, I know it. I know the question.
Love it. 3
years from now. And Brittney, I want them to think about the date, the year, their age, their kids' age. 3 years from now, what has to happen for them to be happy with their progress?
Okay. And the funny thing that happens with these questions is that sometimes they happen to be the question that we actually needed. So, Steph, you have to answer this.
Oh, you want me
Yeah,
to answer this?
I
Okay.
sure do.
My community is laughing right now because we're in boundaries. And so like I have been preaching this, but 3 years
Uh-huh.
from now, it is October 2028 from this recording. Let's see. My son is about to be 15 at the time. My daughter is about to be 12. So we're like in the middle school, high school period.
Mhm.
And I'm out of school by, at least 2 years. So 3 years from now, what is happening for me to be happy with my progress is I am so present with the people that I'm in front of. If it is my family, I am so present with my family. If it is a client or, someone a part of our community, I am so present in front of them. And the only way I'm going to get to that space is really by getting very, very clear on all the work and tasks that I am doing that does not serve me. And it doesn't
Yep.
mean that it doesn't need to be done. And it doesn't mean that I don't have somebody else doing it, but it means 3 years from now, I am living in my strength zone for the majority of my day over and over and over again. And I think that's being present with people.
Ooh, that's so good. Steph, I normally challenge myself to answer the question as well. And I just, you know me, like authentic raw, here you go. This question makes me so uncomfortable.
Why?
Because I feel like I am just now like starting to really embody this season that I've been walking through of the unknown and of like what surrender over my life actually looks like. Like I feel like for so long I've always been the high achiever who I have always had a plan. I could tell you what my 5-year goal was. I could tell you what my 30-year goal was. I could tell you I was so far forward in everything. And the day I left that corporate job and I said, I don't want my plan anymore. I want yours. And what has that looked like over the last, because it's been a year and a half. And it really wasn't until these last 3 months that I started to recognize that feeling of the unknown, that the uncomfortable, that the anger, that the resentment, that these really, I'm referring to them as I start to come out of this a little bit as the shadows of my heart. I didn't realize how much of the shadows of my heart resided in having control over my life or perceived control over my life. And so there's such a big piece of me. It's like, good gravy. I don't want to look. I don't want to try and come up with a plan. I don't want to try and manifest what I'm going to have in a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, because I'm in such awe and wonder of the way that my life has unfolded because I stopped having such a like tight grip of control. So I don't know. I'm in that season right now.
Okay. So I'm in a pastoral counseling class right now that I've not yet learned how to not multitask in. So I'm the worst student ever. Like that's her whole thing is you have to learn to be still. And it's like my body refused it. But the reason I'm telling you this is, we work a lot on like, when do we try to fix things and when do we just shut up and listen? So I'm going to find a balance of the middle of two. Okay. I just want to give you a little bit of perspective that you can go and wrestle with. All right.
Okay.
One we've talked about before, but there's no perfect metaphor. There's no perfect metaphor for God's relationship with us on this side of heaven. But one of the closest things that I can think of is what I want my kids to be doing. And
Yes.
what I want them to be doing has nothing to do with a profession, has nothing to do with the world's definition of success or money. I want them to be happy and have a strong, centered relationship with God and do something that fills their soul. So if you or anyone else, speaking from experience, is wrestling with the perfect next step that God has for you, I really want to free you of God is okay with you being happy and fulfilled as long as it is aligning with his mission, which is loving people and loving him. So I just want to free you of that and let you wrestle with it. But here's number 2. When you asked me when you made me answer the question, I want you to answer it with the next guest. I think that's a fair request. Is that a fair request?
Okay. I have to answer it with the next request. Okay.
But notice that my response was, I want to be able to be present with whoever is in front of me. It didn't have to do with what I was doing in my career, what stage I was speaking on, how much money I made, who I was in front of. It was more along the lines of how do I want to show up? And that still means that there's a lot of different steps and a lot of different areas that happen that to get us there. It still might mean that you have to figure out how to make more revenue. It still might mean that you have to let go of something, but it wasn't foretelling the future.
Yes.
It was foretelling a presence, a temperament on how I hope I am able to show up that I don't quite feel I can today because I'm running from one thing to another all the time. So I have to figure out how not to do that. So anyways, I hope that frees you a little bit. Thanks for letting me go coach Steph for just a minute.
So good. I love it. It's so good. Steph, thank you for being here. So appreciate it. Like I said, guys, I'll include everything in the show notes too. And until next time, bye. Hey, thanks for listening to today's episode. It means the world to me that you're here to ride in the struggle bus with me and that you're willing to consider different perspectives, tools, and techniques that just might provide a little bit of relief and get you one step closer to the abundance that is available and waiting for us all. I hope you take a moment to grant yourself some grace where you've been denying it, some love where you didn't realize maybe it was right in front of you, and some faith where you thought all was lost. If this episode had an impact on you, would you please share a comment with a review? I'd love to hear what landed for you, and it helps us get the word out to our fellow struggle bus riders. So please review what was impactful for you. Just know these episodes are a pure labor of love in a space where I'm growing alongside you. I'm evolving every day, and I look forward to all the ways and the things and the perspectives and opinions and choices that will change over the course of time in my own life, day to day. Until next time, just know that you are loved, you are divinely cared for, and in the struggle, the journey of this life really is beautiful. I'm glad that we're in it together. Cheers.